Welcome back into another episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. Today we're also talking about our side hustle, as Byron likes to call it, the Price Cutter Charity Championship. I'm your host, Noah Tucker. As always, Byron Shive is joining me. We doing all right today, sir?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. You have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. I ate a lot, as I'm sure everyone else did.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Thanksgiving's always a good time of the year, and we have a big event that always happens right after Thanksgiving, which is the celebration of sharing. It is a part of the Price Cutter Charity Championship, the Corn Ferry Tour event that we have here in Springfield. And because of that, we have brought a special guest in-house today, Mr. Brad Beattie, Director of Market Development with the Springfield Cardinals.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I know from the celebration of sharing, I heard a comment today that is it based on the Charity Giving Day? Is this for all the charities? And you wouldn't think it's accidental, but you should be able to take credit, right? You guys?
As far as I am aware, it's always been the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, which I didn't know until recently is called the Day of Giving. So I would imagine that there was probably some intent involved way back when it was scheduled. So
a lot of our charitable partners were definitely very pleased with how that lined up. So we're talking about the celebration of sharing. For those who don't know, Byron, as our tournament director of the Price Cutter, kind of talk about what exactly that is.
So obviously we have the week of the actual professional play, but there's probably 30 events throughout the year, starting way back in April. We have the Cardinals Care Pro-Am or Classic that kind of kicks off the golf in June and sometimes in May, and then it leads right into July. We've got events in the fall. Bottom line is they all add up to the total that we are able to take the expenses out, and then we give the profits back to the charities. And so that's what the celebration of sharing is all about. We announced the total for the year for the first time and hand out checks yesterday to 53 different charities. So
awesome.
We like to call it payday because it makes it all the work and time.
It's interesting that that's the premise of the event, is that we are literally physically handing out checks to local charities.
Yes.
So he hit on this, over 50 local children's charities. They all help in some way during the tournament, and then here at the end of our calendar year for the Price Cutter calendar, they get that check for their contributions. Essentially, the Price Cutter was happy. We were pleased to see a figure over the excess of $1 million handed out to charities this year, which actually surpasses the Price Cutter total giving since the tournament's inception of $20 million. And speaking of the history, I guess, Brad, you've been somebody who's kind of been alongside this for a long time, both in your current profession and in past as well, right? So you were there kind of when like the charity aspect started, yeah?
That's a great lead in though. History. It means old, I think, is we've got
He's saying you're old, Brad. We got an old guy.
I'm worth money in some countries, yeah. So yeah, the history, and even when you talk about the charity portion of it, I go back to, I was in the grocery industry and I called on consumers when they were doing this, when it was the Hogan. Yep. I remember the numbers when they'd come out and you go, ooh, you've got 5 digits, and think, hey, here's what we made this year for the charities. Then again, that was the day of 4 charities.
Yeah.
When we were the presenting sponsor, I remember Gerald coming into the office. Consumers had backed out. It was just one of those financial things, but their administration was very helpful in assisting us with the transition. Gerald asked, it was last minute, hey, we need somebody to sponsor. Would you guys be interested? Well, I said I dealt with consumers on the charity, on the Price Cutter, then the consumers tournament. I ended up going to work for a company is Premier Marketing. It's a Costa nowadays, but one of the key people over there in the staff was Bob Weekley, Judy Weekley's husband. They were extremely involved with consumers. And so I knew all about it because we were one of the largest financial contributors, and we were able to get different grocery people involved. Fast forward, I go to Price Cutter, and when Gerald came in, I was familiar with it from years working with consumers and through Premier Marketing. We spun that thing, oh my gosh, to get that up and running, all the grocery partners jumped on board. And for 4 years, we were the presenting sponsor. When it became available that you could be the title sponsor, That's when we said, yeah, let's do that. And they go, oh, the Price Cutter Championship. Well, our staff got together, we talked about it, and it was so important for us, much like you see today at the event, coming in here to say, okay, it's a charity event. We've got to talk about the Price Cutter Championship. Golf is great. I mean, it's the marquee event when you look at all the pros coming in. But in terms of the charitable aspect, we had to get that name in there, and thus the Price Cutter Charity Championship, or the popular acronym PCCC, but more people liking to use Price Cutter.
Yeah, the Price Cutter.
The Price Cutter for short. Absolutely. So being involved in seeing these changes, I mean, what has it been like to just kind of witness that development over time to where not only is it 5 figures, it's 6 figure, whatever it may be, that we're able to give
seven.
Seven.
I know, 7 figures.
Not to downplay it.
I don't know why. And even back then when we were at the not initial, but certainly as the presenting when we were involved, and I saw 97,000, we are so close to 100,000 that we're giving back. We used to have a charitable event on the Monday after. We used all the pros, and we specifically targeted Fellowship of Christian Athletes. When we became the presenting sponsor, we ended up rolling this into the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's where you saw the Monday after event. But we had it as a standalone. When we became that title sponsor, I talked to Gerald and said, yeah, we can roll that in, but we've got to get FCA as one of the charities because that was their main tournament. And that's how you saw with 3 charities come on board. After the first 4, the next 3, you had Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Children's Miracle Network, and Big Brothers Big Sisters. Yeah. And those are the ones we rolled in with, and that was one of the pieces to being the presenting sponsor. Now, my gosh, it's grown so much, and hearing the participation numbers where you've got over 1,000 volunteers, you start looking at the dollars involved, how tedious some of the tasks, somebody talking about, well, they have the beer, that's got to be the best one, right? To be the beer
serving
garden
the
where
beer
everybody's walking. Oh, yeah, I give away free beer. But some of the ones FCA, I remember they were the trash people. And I think they still are.
Still are.
To this
The
day,
environmental services, Brad.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. So I look at it from just how it's continued to grow, how this staff has done such a great job in terms of all the different pro-ams. That's how you had to grow it. For us, when we'd get a call from Gerald, it was another pro-am. Here's what we thought. We've got another event where we're grabbing food. We've got to start serving. It's another day early out there. So many things that came into play. And you talked about that, even the feeding side of it. People see the cash contribution, which is an extremely large amount. But then you start looking at all the food that for all these events.
And that's one of the things. We're going to the tournament meetings next week where you have the other 25 tournaments, and just networking with them and talking to them, they got to pay for all that.
Right.
I mean, there's one other tournament that's sponsored at Albertson's Boise Open. Other than that, everybody else is having to buy all this food that they're bringing in. And that's one of the greatest things about the deal with Price Cutter and their involvement is they provide all the food. We're talking like slices of cheese for cheeseburgers and chips and the bigger stuff like the steak and beef for the nicer meals. I mean, you can't even put into context how important that is.
Right.
So, at the celebration of sharing, a lot of charities, sponsors spoke, and I think everybody kind of has some sentiment to this. This tournament being the premier golf event in Southwest Missouri echoes the sense of community that we have around here, and it goes to stuff like that, right? I like how you spoke about the name and saying we have to have the word charity in this. And I think that's so fitting because I feel like even if you talk to the pros that come in or whoever it may be that knows about the tournament, that's what they always go back to is they're like, oh, that's the tournament that gives away a lot of money. Yeah. And it's fitting because you spoke about the time where we had 3 or 4 charities. That's still pretty common for other stops on the Corn Ferry Tour. They only have 2, 3, 4, 5 charity partners. They look at 50 and they're like,
some of them only have one. They give it all to
they're
one.
Like, how do you guys do that? And it takes an army, right? We know it does, but it's just been tremendous to see what it's become. And I'm sure that your perspective on it from literally being, ground floor up is quite unique.
Well, getting the vendors, getting them to participate, That's how, when consumers started, that's what they did. They had a warehouse. They used to buy product. They'd stick it in the warehouse. Price Cutter doesn't have that luxury. Price Cutter says, we're going to find ways to incent you in the store. We'll do some things for you in the store. So instead of just saying, we're always going to, this goes to bottom dollar, this goes to bottom dollar. Now they're an ESOP, so the employee owned. So in essence, all these employees are giving back to their community that they live in. But that was so important to say, hey, vendors, at least if you're going to miss, maybe you miss a little higher. Maybe you've got some marketing funds that you were going to work with the company, but let's go a little higher because it's still going to a charity. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, it's a great cause. And I think that's how we sold them in the beginning. We said, this is what you need to do because it gives back to the Southwest Missouri. It made it easier.
Yeah. So having been around, this is, of course, we just finished the 34th year, 35th tournament's coming up next year. You've been around for all of them, it sounds like. It's obviously grown, but what was the key throughout those years of adding this event or it went to the next level? You mentioned getting to 100,000. Well, at some point it got to 1 million. So where was the growth at over the years as we added charities and everything else? That
was a big part of it. And as you added charities, they were jumping in and saying, okay, if we contribute so much, we can get so much back. Mm-hmm. I look at going out. Remember the days, Noah, going out for baseball, you sell things.
Oh, yeah, the candy bars.
Yes. Gosh, you're doing
those
that.
little caramel candy bars. I love them.
The old days, it was magazines. I thought, I've got enough things that I don't read anyway. I better have a lot of pictures. Then it became candy bars, pizzas. My gosh, it was all kinds of things. And now it's easy. They know when they go out and sell a ticket to come see the premier event, you've got the venue to bring people and sell against, if you will. They take it and say, hey, come on out, experience this. You're going to see the best golfers in the world. Where else do you get a chance to do that? For me personally, that is so cool because I don't get a chance to do that. You look at these PGA events, I'll see them on TV, but you can come to your own in Springfield and watch all of this. So here, if you give money for a ticket, not only do you get to come and watch this spectacle, all the money is going to the charity. Right, and you can be out selling that, and it's not, well, we still got to pay for the candy. It's yours. You go sell it, and we've given you a venue to go out and sell against. And the 53 charities this year, where that's continued to grow, they want to get involved. And think of all the different people they touch when you go out. This is the ultimate in charity networking.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can go out and add people to it. The volunteers, and I know it says volunteer, and I'm sure they know they pay to be a volunteer, but they do everywhere because of the swag you get to be the volunteer, and they get to be right out there up close and personal. I guess it's like saying, hey, would you like to go to a Missouri State basketball game and sit in the front row?
Yeah.
You get to watch it. You get to have the chair on the floor. You're right there with these guys. And they're all, I think what you see from all these professional athletes, I get to see it now working with the Cardinals and still being involved in this great event. You get to see great people and people sometimes that witness it think, they're probably standoffish. They're upper echelon, unapproachable, and they're so gracious.
Yeah.
I know when you're in these pro-ams golfing, you're raising money, but how many times do you get to experience golfing with a professional and getting some tips? My God, I must have worn these guys slick when they watch me go. I don't think they know where to start. I just think they say, that little round ball you hit, just kind of stay with that. And if you hit it, that's great.
Brad, just stick to baseball.
Well, and I feel like whether it's a volunteer or whatever it may be, somebody playing in a pro-am, I think they get more of the humanistic aspect of getting to meet these people. And it's like, this is, this guy is just working his profession just like I am. He just happens to play golf. But it's definitely, in terms of how much goes on throughout the tournament, I don't think people realize that there is so much involvement beyond the 4 days that you have the thousands of people coming through. And we speak to the pro-ams right now, yourself with Cardinals Care, you guys have a pro-am yourselves, and then you get the check today as well. Right. And I mean, what does that mean for you all whenever, that can help go towards what it is you guys benefit?
Yeah, we're getting ready to talk about another charity event, a charity collaboration, if you will. So I can't talk. Timing's good, Noah. Good lead in. Dan Ryder's going to be over there. Stop. But yeah, the money, we go back in, we've put a lot through the education, Springfield Public Schools, working through that venue. We always look at different things that we can bring to the table. We're unique in the sense that you've got the professional golfers in the pro-ams. We're bringing, we've had different events with the players who play.
Yeah.
Those were always memorable because we've had some of the players, it may be the first time they've been on a golf course.
Yeah.
We've had players that show up, you're trying to figure out how to get clubs there. You may have a few that can golf really well, that really contribute to a team, but then it's more about the experience. We've done this the last 3 years where we brought a celebrity in, I say bought Freudian, but we brought in a celebrity and they were able to hit some shots, hang out with the folks on the course, take pictures.
Well, not just a celebrity, but Cardinal Hall of Famers.
Hall of Famer, yeah. When I say celebrity, now we've had Ted Simmons.
10 was last year, and this year we had
our Lee Smith. My gosh, Hanky and Scott. Mm-hmm. We have these guys out here who are Cardinal legends, and to get up and close with them, I heard more people talk about Lee Smith. They said, oh my gosh, he is the most personable guy.
He was awesome.
He's got a bigger than life personality. Ted Simmons, he's so deep when you talk to him. It's like I'd want to sit down and just listen to him talk about things for hours. Mm-hmm. He's so intelligent in so many different areas. Not that the others aren't, but that's really how he comes across too, almost.
Yeah. And it's been a huge hit the last few years of, having that interaction where if you're playing in the Cardinals Care Classic, then you're going to get a chance to meet somebody big. And that's always been big. So,
yeah. Lee Smith, I think what surprised me most about him is like, you can see, the measures, on the TV or whatever. Like,
did you shake his hand?
He's a huge guy. Yeah.
His paw. It's like holding a golf ball instead of a baseball.
Yeah. You wonder how these guys throw 95 plus. And it's like, oh my God, like he's holding a ping pong ball.
That's pretty much.
There,
Talk about a pitcher keeping his hand behind the ball. That's a lot behind the ball.
That's a lot of hand behind the ball.
How long it's in his hand coming out. And I'm like, holy cow. Yeah, I thought the same thing when I shook his hand.
Yeah. Yeah. So people might wonder, right? You guys get the check. You guys have different things that you do. I understand that with Cardinals Care, you guys help like provide like equipment for underprivileged kids, stuff like that. That's where this can be directly seen going. Yeah.
Right. And I think you're going to see that with all the charities and certainly speaking for ours, it really hits home when you hear charities talk about monies, talk about where it goes to, very real life instances. I get so much out of it when I hear them talk. And I think that's another great thing you've brought to the venue is charities that come out and talk. That is so nice. I don't know a lot about them.
Yeah.
You hear their names, but what they actually do. And there's some gut-wrenching moments. I mean, I'm up there with some of these neading to look up at the lights.
It gets a little dusty in there at times.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like, something's in my eye.
Yeah.
But the stories are great. And I really enjoy that part of it. So many things about the tournament. I would be challenged if you say, what isn't good about the tournament? Where's a negative? A lot of times you can find something, but every year, and Byron, great coming into this, Gerald, you don't need to reinvent things. No. You need to really keep this rolling. You need to keep everything that you've been doing and just do it better. It's the old, just build a better mousetrap.
And that's exactly what, my first year just completed and my whole goal was just keep the train on the tracks because Gerald, as you mentioned, even way back then when consumers got out and Price Cutter came in, he's the one that developed the charity programs. He's the one that went out that grew this from, one charity to 4 to 10, and now it's at 50 plus. And, he was the one in the 25th year of the tournament that said, we're going to give away $1 million. Whatever we have to do, we're going to do it. And they set out and they gave $1 million that year. And this year, thankfully, was the fourth time it's the third straight year, but the fourth time overall that we've given away over $1 million. And so just keep the train on the tracks. But like you said, just now when we look ahead to 24, what can we do better? How can we elevate the experience?
raise
and
the bar.
how can we make it even better than it already is? And we've got some things we're working on, and we're excited.
Look, bringing in Noah, you've got
and sometimes
this,
you got to take a step back to go
isn't
forward.
it amazing when they talk about social media and everything's get the youth?
Yes.
It was always the strategy. I know at Price Cutter, we need somebody in social media. Well, who are some of the young ones?
Yes.
It was something that is my generation challenged? I don't know. We try to participate. I think it's pretty cool.
We tried to tell Gerald the
I've got
last
a
few
skill set.
years, hey, we need to be better on social media, and he's like, I don't even know what Twitter is. What's Twitter?
Yeah, I'm glad when they say Twitter, and now they've thrown a curveball. X, my gosh. But yeah, just to keep up with all the different avenues to reach people and getting the different age groups and bringing them out here and what's fun for them and getting them exposed. You talk about memories. I think of this with my son, my daughters, more so my son. I remember going to a tournament, a basketball tournament, great experience. The VIP tickets were down on the floor. Kansas is in the tournament. They win. The Big 12 back in the Boshi day. It tells you how long Cal's and those guys. Bo's been a Kansas fan ever since. And huge. No one knows how bad it is.
It's almost annoying.
Okay, thank you. I can't. He's my son, but I'll let you know the feelings of some of the others. But you get that when you get these kids out here and they experience it. It's like, how cool is this? How do they hit the ball that far? I think that was the thing
crazy. Yeah.
when we had the Cardinal players.
Yeah.
When we had them playing, and you have these guys, they said, never been on a golf course, and they see you hit a golf ball, and they're astonished. They're thinking baseball. And then all of a sudden they see you hit this drive. I could hit a 200, and they think, oh my gosh, how does it go that far? But it's, so get them out here, get them involved. And some of the people, it may be their first time ever being this type of event. You never know why they come. They may come because they say, hey, I'll spend money out there. I'll do some things. I'll support. It's really the charity aspect. You also have the golfers. That's the no-brainer. Mm-hmm. People who want to see great golf. But it's reaching some of those other areas. And when you have all these different charities, we talked about how many people they reach. It's a broader audience, one that you can't really target. Noah, from you're trying to target different audiences. Now, it's that ultimate game of, hey, I touch this person, he comes out and he knows this person, and you just build it through that networking process.
Absolutely. I don't know how you felt about the perspective that he said, what could you say bad about the tournament? Because we're always looking at it from a different lens, We're like, oh man, like what can we do here? What can we do? And you're right in the sense of, it's a well-oiled machine in a lot of ways. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but like one thing that you announced today, Tuesday at Celebration of Sharing, was the casino charity night that we're going to have. So there's always different things that, we're going to say, hey, if this can help us raise more money for charities.
We're, like even we mentioned the skyboxes and stuff. We're able to visit a different tournament, and they had food and drink in the skybox that was open bars and hors d'oeuvres and stuff being served in the skyboxes. So we're trying to figure out how can we do that here next year, not 10 years from now. The Ozarks Hospitality VIP tent where everybody eats has always been in the parking lot. Well, who wants to walk and leave the golf and walk a mile and eat and come back? We're going to pick it up and we're going to move it over into the action somewhere. And now the idea is we're going to put it right behind the skyboxes in between 18 and 12, and we're that's the goal. Now we'll see if we know it'll fit. Yeah. It's just a matter of
you're going to have a lot of shush signs, right? You're going to a lot of quiet signs. You're going to have people walking around the Ozarks Hospitality tent with that sign coming out of there.
We're speaking a language a lot of people don't understand right now. It's common tongue to us, but I think you're right. The word that I keep hearing you say is the experience. It's an experience that you have, whether you're playing with a professional.
Oh, you go to a Springfield Cardinals baseball game. You want,
it is.
You're looking for the younger fans to get involved. You're wanting to entertain people while they're there, provide them amenities that make them want to come. I mean, it's all about entertainment, and we just want people to come to our golf tournament and think it's the greatest thing that they've ever gone to, and we're just trying to figure out the best way to do that, which I'm sure you guys wrestle with that daily.
You make it easy. we went to, it was earth-shattering, I think, when the St. Louis Cardinals, we first said, we don't want to sell season tickets anymore. What? We said, no, we want to do memberships. We want to make it easy. We want people who, if they miss a game, we don't say, your ticket, it's already expired. You can come back and you can go to another one. You could change beforehand. We want to make it as easy as possible to get out there because, again, once you get out there, they go, oh my gosh, the baseball people you got. But they go, we can see all these players. You can watch them advance to the major leagues. We got to see them here. Yeah. You have these fun games on the field. You have things on the video board. Same thing you're seeing around here.
My daughter danced on the field twice. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's stuff that you do, and we're doing the same thing. It's an entertainment is what we're looking at. And that's what you're trying to do. You want to entertain people out here. I know it's a little different variety. We want them to yell as loud as they possibly can in our place. Just get behind it, yell, scream, cheer.
Not as much here.
Frowned upon a little bit. Hey, he's putting. Hey, get behind him. Come on, dude, make it.
What is it? TPC Scottsdale? Is that the one? The waste management?
Yeah, waste management.
That's the one where they yell and they throw the drinks on the.
Well, see, that's the other thing is we're looking eventually at doing a similar type hole on number 8 here, called the Cheers, Jeers, and Beers hole. They tee off. They're sitting at the top of that hill to par 5. They can go for the green in 2 and putt for eagle. If they do, they get cheered. If they lay up, they get jeered. And if they go in the water, of course, they groans. But, of course, the beer part is everyone's having a good old time. And layups are for basketball. So that won't happen in 24. But we're looking at perhaps bringing that in.
Well, you probably do your staff meetings, right? You go, let's put on Happy Gilmore.
Let's
get some ideas.
Exactly how we're trying to mimic right there.
So we're going to collapse the TV stand on 18 so that they can putt against it. Yeah.
That's fun. Well, you're getting all the insights here of what's to come for the Price Cutter Charity Championship. But Tuesday, the celebration of sharing is the formal, I guess, end of the calendar year.
Putting a bow on 23.
Yeah, and now we're already, you're heading to the tour meetings next week, and we're getting ready for 24.
I actually have a meeting this afternoon on the 1st for next year, so it's started already.
I love the parallels. Ryder getting ready to go into the winter meetings.
Yes.
Yeah. You go into these.
Yes.
'Tis the season.
Very similar.
For planning, yeah. Mm-hmm. And when you look at, we need that great weather when you get out there in golf. We don't need it. We certainly prefer it because we've had it when it's not. But just to have those beautiful days, get out, enjoy. For me, baseball. For you, golf. For the community, both.
There you go. Well, and interestingly enough, the schedule for 24, one of the first major events that's happening Pro-Am wise, Cardinals Care, right back around. So it'll be here before we know it.
Absolutely.
Hey, we thought of some interesting. There was a spin that we talked about. Yeah. I don't want to break it on here yet. Talk about the ultimate teaser, but it's something that's not been done before. But we just wanted to get your thoughts on it as we talk about the Cardinals.
That is an absolute teaser. Dun, 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 dun. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Well, hey, Brad, we appreciate you joining us. Great. I mean, it's to hear the insight that you have on it. It's awesome. And thank you so much for joining us. Really.
Appreciate it.
Great
appreciate
to be
all
here.
You've done.
Wonderful event. And yeah, absolutely. Keep this ball rolling. It's huge.
We'll have to bring Brad back in. We ran out of time. We have to bring him back in and get his thoughts on Cardinals are signing pitchers left and right.
Oh my gosh.
Got some time.
Speaking of Twitter, I'm doing all my social media stuff right now. I saw they're talking to Montgomery again. Yeah. That name is first and foremost on my feed as I start seeing that come across.
Well, and they've got plenty of guys in Springfield that are ready to make the jump as well.
Wasn't it fun? The Walker year, when you see him go that quick, win.
And seeing them playing up there now. Yeah,
we talk about
going to be there for a while.
And most people thought it was for wins. We thought it was for Walker win. Yeah, those wins.
Well, we talked about charitable donations, but we also got our baseball guy there. Be sure to follow us on social medias. stay up to date with everything that's happening both at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame and the Price Cutter Charity Championship as they go into their 2024 calendars. We want to remind you real quick, we do have the helmet raffle that is taking place. It'll be drawn this Friday. If you're listening to the week of release, you still got time, but we're coming down to the end, and we'll have new episodes of the podcast releasing every Wednesday, as always, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you can watch on YouTube. Byron?
Well, appreciate everything. And I don't know that we actually gave the actual number, but $1,025,288 given away to charity this week. So we're very happy about that.
Tremendous, tremendous news. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.